If you're living under the impression that modern anime is on the verge of dying but still haven't seen this show, you're killing anime more than Moe ever could. My name is Kristin, this is STALK, and today we are taking a closer look at Lupin III, l'avventura Italiana. The series kicks off with womanizer Lupin, this time donning a blue jacket, announcing his marriage to the up-and-coming actress Rebecca Rossellini. Invited are of course his old pals Jigen, Goemon and Fujiko, but also longtime rival and Interpol officer Zenigata. From here on out we meet a bunch of new characters and witness expensive collectibles getting stolen. Well, or not. Let me be upfront, Lupin III is among the best shows coming out in recent years. It hurts me greatly that it didn't get more attention when it aired, but luckily you can still find it on Crunchyroll, because I recommend watching Lupin III, l'avventura Italiana without question. If a recommendation is all you're looking for in a review, you can go and watch it now. I wouldn't even be mad if you did. Since there is so little for me to criticize, I would much rather like to focus on what makes it so good and explain what the term well-directed means in the process. Defining it is a lot easier than actually being a good director. You see, every piece of art should have a heart or a core, something it wants to say, whatever that may be. It can be simple lessons along the lines of family and friendship are important. Don't laugh, these themes still make for the best narratives. A capable director pursues this core rigorously with every tool he has: animation, acting, editing, framing, scripting, soundtrack, and all the many tiny steps in between. While the viewer might not yet be aware of it, the film knows where it's headed every step of the way. Every decision a director makes has to have a purpose. Shirobako compared being a director to being the captain on a ship, an image I agree with. What's important to keep in mind is that there is no one proper way on how to achieve this. After all, we are talking about art and not rocket science. It's what makes it so much more fun. A director doesn't have to spoon-feed his intentions either. This is important to keep in mind as well. This is also where things begin to get a little tricky. I strongly believe that every person has the ability to tell a good piece of art from a not-so-good one with a little bit of experience and guidance. Sadly, people like to focus on tangible details and hereby confuse best with most. The number or absence of cuts, a flamboyant actor, a creative world. These things can be important, but if they don't say anything, it's pointless, a waste of production values and talent. Recent anime examples would be Shelter, Kikai Zen, and probably Flip-Floppers. Compared to these examples, Lupin III seems understated, almost boring, but it's the economy of every decision that lets it excel. A complaint you're very likely going to hear is that Lupin III is following an episodic structure and is therefore lacking of a real story. Ichigo even went as far as saying that every episode of Lupin is kind of the same, a statement I can't exactly argue with. Following his argument, however, you would also have to believe that every film is kind of the same. It is true that Lupin III follows an episodic pattern tied together by an overarching story into a neat little package. I agree that the main story is not as strong as some of the singular episodes, as it dives into a complex idea of secret governmental agencies utilizing dreams to control people's minds. What sounds like a lot to take in becomes fairly simple when we focus on how this is connected to our new characters in particular. Who the bad guy was and how this was even possible were never the point. What matters in the storyline is finding out how our new characters, Rebecca, her butler Robson, and the MI6 agent Nix, are connected to it. What propels the story is Rebecca's drive to find out more about this project, to make peace with her past and move on. At first glance, neither Lupin's old gang nor the new characters seem particularly complex, but looking behind all of the goofiness, they all come with individual ideals, desires, needs, and weaknesses, creating a complex psyche, but most importantly, it makes them deeply human. It doesn't matter whether we've known them for 40 years or just recently got introduced to them, whether they are with us in every episode or just a single one. It's their humanity that enables them to carry this show. All those qualities are best showcased in all the tiny side stories when they are confronted with different situations. In some of them, our protagonists are mere gateways into the story of someone else, while others focus closely on them. There are a number of reasons as to why our protagonist would get involved with strangers. Sometimes it's completely selfish, for example to earn a reward or to steal a painting. In other episodes it's to help out an old friend, and sometimes it's as selfless as saving a kid from getting in trouble with a mafia family. What's important to understand about episodic narrative, and I feel stupid to even feel the need to explain this, is to readjust your focus and find out what this particular episode might want to tell you, and then readjust it for the next one, because it's very likely to explore an entirely different concept. In this fashion, Lupin III creates a cornucopia of tiny movies, each one with more to them than some shows manage to deliver in 12 episodes. You might still be skeptical as to why you would care about a random side character who will only hang around for those 20 minutes just to never be seen again. You might be under the impression that they need character arcs and time to really get to know them. Nuh-uh. All it needs is a little bit of empathy. As I explained, the characters are properly fleshed out, and just like their personalities, their problems are deeply human. At the same time, they are universal enough for the characters and the viewer to relate to. For this reason, there will be episodes that resonate more with you than others based on your own experiences and interests. That is only natural, and I would like to argue that it's one of the most redeeming features of episodic storytelling. Despite being set in present-day Italy, there are still remnants of its 1960s origin when the manga started publication. Lupin still favors his Walter P38, drives the classic 1957 Fiat Cinquecento, and the entire show is what seems to become a relic of the past, mainly hand-animated. It chooses to rely on 3D animation to accentuate certain aspects. When it does, it never feels like a cheap cop-out and is barely noticeable. The character designs are faithful to the original. Depending on the scene, they behave as silly or seriously as it needs to be, and it's the amazing animation quality that makes chases on foot, motorcycle or car so immersive without ever losing itself in the plethora of possibilities. Nothing ever happens out of sheer vanity. This level of quality is not surprising, considering that the production was led by Chief Director Kazuhide Tomonaga and Director Yuuji Yano. Tomonaga, who has been working as an animator since the 1970s, is most famous for animating the battleships in the original space battleship Yamato and the crash scene in Galaxy Express 999, explaining the detailed shots and sequences of machinery in Lupin III. Yuuji Yano is a highly experienced animator as well, having worked on Akira, Piano no Mori and House of the Five Leaves, and even ventured into Western animation as animation director for Animaniacs and director of the 1997 The New Batman-Superman Adventures. I only remember 2 episodes which had noticeably lesser quality than previous ones. They aired before episodes which probably took a lot of time and personnel to create. While they were not as refined, they focused on creating atmosphere with different means, like for example the choice of color. Remember when color actually meant something and wasn't just grimdark or trippy colorful for the sake of it? Lupin III works as a reminder of those times. It is topped off with hand-painted backgrounds, bringing the Italian scenery to life with rich greens and the regional typical of whites, beige and terracotta tones. Just like the animation, the soundtrack got a 2015 makeover as well. It features rearranged versions of classic titles as well as new ones composed by Yuuji Ohno and performed by his jazz ensemble U and Explosion Band. Besides the fact that there is not one title on the soundtrack I don't like, what it gets so right is that it never overpowers the story. Instead of blackmailing the viewer into feeling a certain way by playing a sad song when you're supposed to be sad, it tells the story in its own way. There aren't even a whole lot of different titles because it uses the main themes and arranges them with a different choice of instruments, tonality and time to create a completely new experience. Since the Lupin III anime is 45 years old at this point, the voice cast has changed various times. Longest member of the recent staff is Kanji Kudeta since 1995. In 2011 he was joined by Kiyoshi Kobayashi as Jigen, Daisuke Namikawa as Goemon, Miyuki Sawashiro as Fujiko and Koichi Yamadera as Inspector Zenigata, so just some of Japan's most accomplished current voice actors. Lupin III is a project created by people who know the strength, weaknesses and resulting possibilities of their craft to an utmost extent. All the pieces come together like clockwork, resulting in one of the most rewarding experiences modern anime has to offer. The tough question is, where do you go from here? So my reasoning is more along the lines of, this thing was really good, so here's another thing that's really good. For one, I would recommend Space Battleship Yamato 2199, which is the retold version of the classic space opera, in which the crew of the name-giving Yamato is sent out to save planet Earth, which has been devastated by an alien race. What sounds simple enough quickly turns into an epic exploring all aspects of humanity and honor. As a sort of palate cleanser, I recommend Gundam Build Fighters for 2 reasons. Due to its unbelievable energy and positivity, it's the kind of show that I can watch any day, no matter how I feel, without ever getting tired of it. If you want to get deeper into anime, there will come a time when you want to get into Gundam, and getting into Gundam is a bit tricky due to the sheer vastness of the franchise. Gundam Build Fighters works as a perfect gateway to overcome this hurdle because it's a show about people who really like Gundam to an extent that they build those tiny plastic robots to fight battles with them. The original Robot Suit Gundam doesn't fare too well pitted against modern anime for many reasons, so you need this kind of hype to soldier through its 43 episodes. Once you're done with that behemoth, you can dive into the good UC series like War in the Pocket, 8MS Team, Gundam Thunderbolt, and of course the prequels. For my next video, we are going to stick with Telecom Animation Films who have produced Lupin and talk about Orange. If you're interested in that, then don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.